Okay, so the last off-the-cuff screed video I did was about an hour ago on the other side of this house, and I talked about cops. I want to follow up on that, and I have here Erin. Erin's my friend who is smart, but there's a danger that she might pretend to not be smart despite me, because she hates my future success. So I talked in that video. I kind of stammered around a little bit about I stammered on stammer about cops, and because it was spurred by the question, like, do you hate cops? I had to give that a real think, because what I hate is, I guess, the police, the thing. Do I hate some random 25-year-old moron who doesn't know what he's getting into and saw a sign on a door? I think he's cowardly. Do I hate? I don't know. Anyway, but point is, that's not the point, because the thrust of it is, well, the thrust of the cop thing I want to lay out more here. But I ended on this note that, like, what is it primarily that cops do? Like, their function. What do you think that is? What would you say that is?
Me?
Yes.
Like, most of their day seems to be, if they're not doing traffic, but I mean, if they are doing traffic, it's the same. But it mostly seems to be, like, making incident reports. Like, even over arresting people, that they're just, like, documenting things and then
Sure.
they don't really do investigation. Like, if you get your car stolen, you have to call the police and they'll do, like, file a report. And that's like 80% of their day is responding to things that they have, like, no intention of looking into at all, that have already happened, and just being like, there were these many crimes of this kind, and then none of them get addressed.
Right. I'm asking you, yeah, that's true, and those are important points to make, especially about on the theme of, like, cops aren't actually there to help you. That's not even polemical. Like I said in the last video, that's an actual thing. That's in recruitment. That's in the training shit. But what I'm saying is, okay, a violinist plays classical music. An oncologist treats cancer patients. What is the function of cops as such?
Law enforcement.
Yeah.
But do they do a good job?
Right. The question is de facto, what do you think it is? And of course, law enforcement. It goes without saying they enforce laws. I mean, it's almost tautology, but like in the world relative to other people.
Like, do you
what
mean
is unique about a cop?
like what? Because I said what they do mostly, like functionally, what their day looks like. Like some of them are beating people up for fun, and arresting people. And some of them are doing like gun trace task force, just straight up their own crime all the time.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. But like, what do you mean?
Okay, well, I'll give you my sort of off the cuff answer I had, and as an example, I think that cops. Okay, so socialists and anarchists will tell you the purpose of the police is to protect private property, right? You've heard that before?
Yeah.
And I think that that is true in a sense that's not all of that rhetorically helpful. I think what is, because it's like a second order thing, I think what is really, what it comes down to it, is the purpose of the police is to pacify through terror populations so that they don't do civil unrest and revolt.
Yeah, they've never really responded to any like personal property damage. Like anytime a friend's car has been stolen, they're just like, "Are you sure someone you know didn't steal it?" And it's like, yeah, we're sure.
Well,
Like, I don't know. Well, we won't look into it.
Yeah, and I'm skipping ahead to something I want to talk about a little bit later on, which is some of my problems with the ACAB discourse. But the thing is that, like, the beat cops you see, they're not allowed to give a shit about you. I mean, I'm exaggerating, you know, like, but you know what I mean. Like, they are incentivized to certainly do things other than fucking helping a cat get down from a tree, helping an old lady cross the street, or helping you with your fucking laptop that got stolen. So anyway, I was revisiting this book, which I read in graduate school. I did go to grad school. I have 2 master's degrees, one for each butt cheek, inner butt cheek, to wipe my ass with.
I have a high school diploma.
And Erin's probably as smart as me.
If not smarter.
If not smarter in some areas, but I make up for it in other areas. I think we're about a wash. We don't need to do this here. Anyway, it's called The Morality of Law. And it's really good, believe it or not. It's by Lon Fuller. And he talks about the 8 criteria for what makes law, like moral law. And further, what makes a law has to have these criteria in order to be a legitimate law. And the 8 criteria are, I don't know if I'm going to do all 8. Generality, ubiquity for everyone, generality. Promulgation, the proliferation of the laws, so people know what they are. We're going to take it back to that one. Retroactive laws is the name of the heading, but obviously he's not saying you should have retroactive laws. He's saying that no laws can be retroactive. There's another one. Jesus fucking Christ. Clarity. He has all kinds of... he clarifies that a bit. Laws cannot be self-contradictory. As Kant said, ought implies can. Laws requiring the impossible are not legitimate laws. Constancy of the law throughout time. Congruence between official action and declared rule. We'll get back to that one also. Promulgation. So, he's talking about, he says, the need for this education, as in educating the public about what the laws are, will of course depend upon how far the requirements of law depart from generally shared views of right and wrong. Over much of its history, the common law has been largely engaged in working out the implications of conceptions that were generally held in the society of the time. This large measure of coincidence between moral and legal demands reduced greatly the force of the objection that the rules of the common law were, in contrast with those of a code, difficult to access. The problem, did you get all that? The problem of promulgation is complicated by the question, just what counts as law for purposes of this requirement? So, did you get that? Were you trying?
We did drive 11 and a half hours.
That's fine. I mean,
Slow.
I wasn't sure if you. It wasn't like a moral recrimination. It was like, could you please fucking like stop being a baby and buck up? Like, nobody ever fucking succeeded in this country whining after they drove their truck. So promulgation, the proliferation of the laws to people so that they know what the laws are. The question is then, with the manifold laws, and the way that he's saying that it's been a tradition in common law that you don't need to really, I mean, it's impractical for everybody walking around to know all the laws, right? You go to law school, you don't learn fucking 16th of all the laws. And he's saying that in common law, a practice, like the thing was that adjoining, as long as the laws are adjoined to common moral sense of that society, then the promulgation problem is basically solved. And then the question is, after that, how to determine what counts as laws then. This got me thinking a lot. So cops have a lot of judicial power de facto. And remember, SCOTUS, whatever, that like those 9 bags of seed. Our law enforcement officers, they are officers of the court whose main function is to do law enforcement. And cops are that. I was arrested in Athens, Georgia once. My girlfriend was driving drunk. Hey Emma, happy to hear that you've been engaged. Anyway, unironically.
Really? I didn't hear about that. Congratulations.
Thank you. So we got pulled over. It was a big festival, so the cops were out. The cops were ready. They were chomping at the bit. They were salivating. They had wardrobe issues vis-a-vis pre-com.
Which is?
A
mixture of cum and piss that comes pre-mixed.
Mixture of cum and piss that comes pre-mixed.
I think it's the cellar door of our times.
I wasn't drinking and driving because there was actually only one driver's seat in her car. But I had been drinking. We went to Waffle. We got drunk at a show. She recriminated me far too sternly in a bathroom because we were at a deafeningly loud show, and apparently my talking into her ear loudly was too loud for her, and she just wasn't sure things were gonna really work with us. Anyway, so then we went to Waffle House and drank more. We got pulled over by this cop, and he said that she didn't have her seatbelt on, and I looked down and she had her seatbelt. I also remember her putting her seatbelt on because I said, "Put your seatbelt on. It's Athfest," or some other festival someplace else. Sorry. There's more than one Emma in Athens, Greece, right? And it was step out of the car, you know, and what am I fucking Joey the Kid,
You know, I saw Al Pacino ice cream truck today. It says Al Pacino ice cream on it.
I did not know that.
Today.
It's funny when you say, "Did you know that did you know that this happened today?" I didn't tell you that at all.
I could have told you that. I drove 11 and a half hours. I don't know what I said.
Well, anyway, I got charged with minor in possession of alcohol. So I was 19.
But you didn't have any on you.
I didn't have any on. I didn't have any bottles of, except internally. So this cop pulled a law out of his fucking ass. You know, when I went to jail, my dad refused to bail me out. He was like, "You're gonna go to general population, you're gonna learn a fucking lesson down there in Georgia." Yeah, he doesn't swear, but I don't know, I was like pissed pantsingly scared of that happening, because, you know, I'd prefer consensual receipt of sex. No, and then he called back hours later. He's like, "Mom, I'm just playing. I just wanted to hurt you mentally. I don't know." Yeah, so, but I talked to my dad about it, who was a cop, and at this point I had started law school and knew law. Now he's like a legal scholar, and he was like, and he'd been doing law for like 25 years, or he'd been a law enforcement for 25 years. And he was like, what do you mean it was in you? So the cool thing about cops, what I'm saying here in this part, is that they have total sovereign power over you. In that moment, they are the most powerful you can possibly be over another person. Why do cops do that? Why do they do that? There's a concept from Louis Althusser, who's normally my arch nemesis because of how he massacred my boy, Karl Marx, with his terrible interpretation that was beloved by Stalin, to great result. Great job, Stalin. Sorry, I don't want to offend anyone. It's like saying like the R word now to like say Stalin did bad. Anyway, but Althusser does have this useful concept called interpolation with an E. Basically in
where's the E?
In the word.
Where in the word?
Before the R,
Oh,
after
okay.
the P.
After?
Interpellation.
Two E's. Thank you.
Yep. And anyway, lost my train of thought. I don't know why.
Sorry.
So in interpolation, the concept is basically, fucking, I apprehend you, you know, and you know, I have power, and at the same time, in apprehending you in this manner, this manner in which I have limitless power over you, and in doing so, I forge who you are, what you are. Well, that sounds kind of Derrida. That sounds kind of crazy. That sounds kind of fucking voodoo. But cops create. You know, if you've ever done liberal arts college, you've heard othering, right? Which I always hated until semi-recently when I got into social ontology. And social ontology is basically sort of the framework that we're using here. Do you know what social ontology is? Social ontology is a sub-discipline of ethical philosophy, social philosophy, that has to do with what and who people conceive themselves to fundamentally be in the social world. Cops create mass others who are others in the sense of being alien to them, in the basic sense of how they live, how they move, what to them is right and wrong. it's not it isn't at all strictly a black bodies thing. When there's no black people to go around, which there wasn't when my dad was a cop, it was these dirt bags, these trailer trash, you know, with their desultory habits, etc. Here, you know, in Baltimore City, it's, you know, welfare queen. It is a way of, because to brutalize or kill a living thing, I mean, think about the difference, the spectrum of difference between killing a fly. You don't even, it's not even a killing. It just is, because it's so other. It is so completely other, it doesn't count. That's not just me, that's not me just like psychoanalyzing cops. That is what they do in the police academy, principally by creating this gestalt of the bad guy, who you are to fear. It is all about they're a danger. You know, fear them. The corner boys, the fucking, I don't know, where do rural people do crime? Trailer meth people. Fear them. I have like this like stupid outline. Othering produces, what did I write? Othering produces fear. Fear produces violent vigilance response. I think these were like shorthand for myself, so it sounds like a child with an implausibly large vocabulary, but still with the syntax of a child. It's no wonder people hate cops. It is the job of cops to hate them, to hate you. Is this paranoid?
When I was driving your car, I got pulled over. And the cop, one of the first things he said was, "You seem nervous. What's wrong?" And it's like, you turned on your lights, and that meant that if I don't do whatever you say for as long as you decide I have to do it, you shoot me. Like, it's just, my day is no longer my own. My day is fully in your hands. If I decide to disobey whatever it is you say, you can shoot me, you can also arrest me and put me in a cage. But of course anybody would be nervous under any circumstances interacting with a cop who is conscious in any way at all. Like, there are people who are certain that cops would never fuck with them, and I think a lot of them discover they're wrong when they get in trouble in some way. But those people, they're absolutely self-deluded.
Muscular guy,
most people are aware.
And the cop is a tiny little bitch. The cop has a shooty gun.
They can just decide that your day is over, your week is over, you're going into a jail cell until a judge grants you bail. That's obviously, you should be nervous interacting with the police if you are a rational human being who's paid attention to anything. If you're not nervous, it's like you probably have a thin blue line thing on your car. Like, you probably are a cop's wife. In which case you're probably still like 40% of the time quite nervous.
If I'm driving legally and I haven't had any like booze or drugs, I'm not nervous really.
Do you remember when we were?
I'm nervous about. I get anxious about what am I gonna say? Am I gonna go for cold and steely? Because cold and steely, they pick it up, and then you risk a verbal confrontation where I am forced to be like sardonic and make fun of you as a cop a little bit, and then I have to step outside the car, which is the worst.
Do you remember, I don't know if you were in the car, I think you were though, but I was driving, we were in Hamden, I was driving, we had a bunch of people in the car, it was like 4 people in the car.
Rick, Janika,
none of these people. I was driving in the straight through the light.
Todd.
I was driving in the straight through the light lane, and there was a car in the right turn only lane. Like, you have to turn right. It's marked on the ground, painted right turn only. There's a sign on the light pole where the green light is saying right turn only. And this person like tried to run me into the across the median, just shooting in front of me.
Yeah, you told me. Yeah.
Incompletely, and I honked. And then this person, this unmarked car, when the parking lane that they like had to cut me off to get out of because it wasn't a driving lane at all at any point for them, when that opened up and they could pull over, they pulled over to get behind me and then turned on their secret lights, and it was like a narcotics officer who was so mad that I honked at him that he pulled us over after he broke the law by using the right turn lane to go straight through the intersection. And when I told him that, I was like not happy with him. I was like, you fucked with me. Like, you did wrong. You fucked up. And now you're giving me a hard time because I honked at you for fucking up. You're an asshole. And I wasn't nice to him because he didn't deserve it. And he wasn't even on traffic. He was on undercover, like, unmarked narcotics. Like, that was his thing. He was like, is that weed I smell in the car? And it's like, no, it isn't. None of us had weed. I didn't smoke weed. Nobody smoked weed in my car. Nobody had smoked weed before we got in the car. It was just an intimidation thing. It was just, you weren't nice to me when I pulled you over because I was being a dick and I didn't like how you honked at me for it. I want you to, like, be nervous. I want you to, like, show your belly. So do I need to, like, search your car? Do I need to bring in drug dogs? And so he was just escalating until it was like, all right, like, I have people with me who I'm not going to subject to my unwillingness to fucking, like, lick this dog's fucking asshole. So, but that's their whole thing. That's like, they're trained to do that. They're trained to, like, be authorities. And if they're not getting their authority acknowledged, they're, like, trained to escalate.
Yeah.
Until they are. Like, they're supposed to assert dominance as their first thing. Like, you need to establish your dominance and control of the situation, which means the people around you who aren't cops need to submit to you like in like a wolf pack.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the sheepdog shit too. Like, they're supposed to be sheepdogs protecting sheep. That's their constituency that they're supposed to protect, is sheep, is how they think of that. From wolves, who can look like sheep, but who aren't.
Can you tell me about the sheepdog thing?
Police departments across the country are taught this, like, metaphor that they're sheepdogs protecting their flock of sheep from wolves. And of course the wolves can look like sheep. So if you're a sheep, you are, for them, like, the person they're supposed to protect is a mindless animal who doesn't know what's good for it, who's just like herd instincts, incapable of protecting itself, helpless and stupid. Wolves are among them, and it can be any of them. So it's like, the way they're trained is, if you are not, like, licking their balls, falling over yourselves in gratitude for their sheepdoggery, you are one of the wolves. which they like, and then they're also showing that video of like the one traffic stop where a cop got killed, like really gruesomely, where it's just like a random, like suddenly the cop is being shot at several times, like there was no like
Rest in peace.
Yeah, and that's the only one. That's like the only time that happened. And they have it on video, and they show every single police officer in every single police academy and make it seem like that is happening every day, everywhere. Whereas like traffic stops are pretty universally super safe for cops. Not for the people that they're pulling over, who do die. But for cops, they're remarkably safe, not scary at all. It's like delivery drivers are getting shot.
I would imagine so.
Delivery drivers. But cops are pretty immune to violence.
60 pounds of weapon gear.
All the cops who died in, like, I think it was LAPD, all the cops that died in LAPD were COVID.
Oh.
In, like, an entire, like, year. It was COVID, and then, like, a cop got hit by a car. But it was, like, his own car. It was remarkable how few cops ever are killed in the line of duty. All of the ones that have died in COVID times, it's been because they refused to get vaccinated or wear masks. So, which is a great way to get rid of some of the stupidest cops. But, you know, you'd rather just have policy changes.
Yeah, so I wanted to very brief, because I wrote it down, and I wanted to very briefly draw this connection that might be food for thought or food for further investigation. Like, so the Harlan County coal miners strike. They say in Harlan County there are no neutrals there. You'll either be a union man or a thug for J.H. Blair. J.H. Blair, in that song, Which Side Are You On? Pete Seeger version, was the sheriff. And there are all these coal miners striking, like pitch tents, like a real strike, like they used to have before the Republicans and the Democrats for 60 years gave labor rights just a little more of a bris, a little more of a circumcision, just a tiny little bit more. Cut its cock, castrated it. That's another topic for another day. So they brought in cops. What the cops did to these men, women, and children in their tents was just started opening fire on them, killing them in their tents while they ate like gruel. That's extreme, but you don't see, the thing is, you don't need hard power that much. You only really need one of those, if that sort of metaphor makes sense. Like, you know who they are, and in the process, the cops are, in the process you've lost yourself and your dignity wholesale, as these butchers have reconstructed you per their training without a ripple of thought into a total other. The more other than them, the more people can kill. Okay, that's the end of the more boring part, I think. Maybe, we'll see. So I guess I want to talk a bit about the the whole ACAB, you know, hang every cop with every remaining cop with the intestines of the last remaining different kind of cop. You know, and police abolition. And I have doubts. I have such doubts. To quote
That's
Meryl,
from the movie Doubt.
Meryl Streep. So all cops are bastards? Probably not. It's probably not true. What are the chances? And it's, but worse than that, I mean, who cares? But worse than that is, if you want to have a movement or whatever, all cops are bastards is about the worst you could possibly fucking do, messaging wise. And I don't think these people really want to have a movement. They want to have a clique. They want to be cool. God, I remember, don't you remember, you might not have been in this house, but, oh yeah, you were. Yeah, you were, because it's where Allison ended up living, and Goldie, like for a spell, across the street from...
Across the street?
Yeah.
Yeah, I went across the street.
They had, you know, this was back when they were anarchists, meaning they rode bikes and had pit bulls. You know, he was a good friend. I mean, treated me like shit, but a friend who passed away. Whatever, who cares? I mean, I care, but you don't. They had this big, giant fucking canvas that they painted, "No police repression," on, like repression of activists or whatever. And it's like, so this is the politics, huh? The politics is hating cops, individual monadic units of cop. This is it. And for people who really are ACAB, it is it, man.
I think you're right, and I think I
have a question though on the I wanted to cap that with, and I think that you'll still be able to say what you're going to say. So you can hold the answer for a second, but are cops worse than landlords? As a class, you know, in the broad sense of the term.
I don't know. Kind of a hard one to answer.
Well, I
Since
mean,
you're weighing just like straight up murder guys and putting people in cages with making people homeless and stealing all of people's life force in the form of all of their work effort.
It's meant to say, I guess, that, I mean, I don't want to be too, like, utilitarian, right? And, like, you know, measuring suffering or whatever. But, on a day-to-day level, who really in the hood, in bad, high crime, dangerous, wrenchingly impoverished parts of the city, who is the bigger immediate quotidian threat? And it's gotta be your fucking landlord. And the point is, it's not a fucking contest, right? They're both bad, and they're both bad because very, very bad people need them to be bad for bad reasons that are alien from them. I mean, like a landlord, a landlord is a little different in that, though, right? I mean, that job is, you're a little less of a cog. So it's not quite like you're just serving this function that you've been indoctrinated to serve. But anyway, the point is to ask, like, the particular ire against cops is weird, and it wouldn't really matter, I guess, if it weren't for the fact that it makes everyone hate everyone who espouses it. So you go in DSA and your whole thing is police abolition. Like, oh, from Baltimore DSA, what we're gonna do is we're gonna abolish the cops here in the Quaker Center where we're having our meeting. And the question of what abolished police would look like is something that's too long. Or unless you wanted to say something on it, whatever.
No, I was gonna say, like, if you're talking about the places in the city that are like the poorest and most fucked up, there's landlords there, but a lot of the housing there is public housing that is run by the city.
I know. I thought of that.
A lot of it is Section 8, where your landlord largely doesn't respond to anything that's wrong with the house or apartment unit, but you're not really paying them, or if you are, you're not paying them market rent at all. You're paying them $100 a month. You're getting benefits for that, or alternatively, you stayed in your house that your grandmother owned in the 60s when all of the white people left the city, and now you own a house that's worth $15,000 that you actually can't sell because you're underwater on your water bill, and the city is threatening to take it, but you've been able to stay in it, so you don't actually have a landlord, although your housing is precarious. What is, I think, actually I do think the cops hassling people and just fucking with them constantly. If you have a boyfriend, you're not allowed to have him in public housing, and if the cops come, they're gonna fucking put him in jail for being there, and they're gonna try and get you kicked out of public housing. They are the hammer.
Yes.
Where your landlord, if you have a landlord, then that's a pretty significant thing, especially because there's very little public transit in the city. It's really fucking difficult to own a car.
On that point, briefly, the book, one of the most eye-opening books I've ever read in my life, it kind of spurred me to go to grad school, really, was Regulating the Poor by Francis Fox Piven and Richard Cloward. and it's all about, it's a book, it's a history of welfare, starting in the 16th century in Lyon, France. I had to say Lyon, so I accidentally said France.
Nice.
Thank you.
It's a city in France. That's not how you say it.
Oh, I get it. Paris. Okay, yeah. Oh yeah, regulating the poor. So it's a history of welfare, and I mean it kind of speeds up, right? I mean it's not like a big ass book, but it and then it goes through like, you know, the early, like, because welfare, public assistance started out as workhouses. Well, it started out in the church and then very quickly moved to workhouses because of the beginning of the very early birth pangs of industrial capitalism with the advent of the loom. I don't know. So their argument, and they studied welfare, they studied it on the ground for decades. I mean, they're brilliant. And their argument was that welfare has always the two things. One, in every major case in history in which a new form of like new fabric for the social safety net has been added, new forms of public assistance have come about, unemployment, disability, food stamps, direct welfare like AFDC. It has been on the heels of civil unrest. It has been in order to, it has been a compromise so that there's not revolution. And that then you get the welfare, but the welfare is a disciplinary operation of like the, you know, carceral state. You know, hence the title, Regulating the Poor. You know, yeah, check-ins on like unannounced check-ins about smoking pot, or do you have a boyfriend who's black? Probably wouldn't help. Yeah.
So what I was saying.
No, sorry. I'm really sorry.
It's
No
okay.
doubt.
So your thing about, because I agree with you on anti-policing messaging, talking about just like individual cops, like all cops are bastards, and it's like if you already believe policing is bad, that's just like, yeah, alright, sure, whatever. But if you don't, it's like, it's kind of a thing that's like, you could say something in the same vein that would have somebody be like, yeah, I buy that. But all cops are bastards specifically is like, most people who aren't already leftists, like self-identified leftists who know what leftism is and are like, yeah, that's what I am. Most people are gonna be like, all of them bastards. Like, you can't know that. But the thing is, the thing about that, and I would
be like that still.
Yeah, it's not messaging that is it's like preaching to the choir, but not even, because when I hear it, I'm just like, yeah, I don't like cops, but what a weird formulation. But then most importantly, it's just like, it's bad messaging. It doesn't. advance any political program. The only thing I'll say in its defense is that the atmosphere of people hating pigs so severely that they're writing "all cops are bastards" on walls, and people are calling cops pigs pretty openly, and people are saying we should defund the police, is that cops are quitting in record numbers because they're not getting respect. And that's good, because the thing about those people quitting because they're not getting respect, I mean, there's a lot of, I think it's probably both groups.
Doesn't it stoke the flame of the existing paranoia that, oh,
Yes.
look, he had to quit because they're out to get us?
Yes.
Doesn't it do that? Isn't
Yes,
that
but
bad?
I want to go back to Baltimore specifically as being, there's other cities that are the same, but ours is pretty well documented as being fucking insane, where the cops are, like, the gun trace task force shit was a limited number of police on a specific thing, but the cover-up involved and the people who would have known about it is just basically untouched and is the entire fucking police force, where all of the BPD is bad police doing crimes. They are universally like evil guys doing crimes. There is no reforming any of the members of the BP. Like, there might be some fucking Serpico type who's just like, yeah, I don't take money, I don't beat people up, but I've seen it happen and I can't rat people out without getting shot in the face. But I don't believe in it. There might be those people, there might be like 5 of them on the entire BPD who it's like, yeah, if you found like whatever 2,000, 5,000 similar people and replaced all the bad ones, you could keep those 5 and it would be fine. But really with the BPD, it's like, it is actually worse to have them. Like, even with the amount of insane sociopathy in Baltimore's fucking like crime networks, where people are doing just absolutely sadistic things to other people, like, that's a real problem, but it is made worse by the police department we have, and would be better, in my opinion, if we just didn't even have anything.
Real quick, because there's 2 things that I want to do, like 5 minutes on and then 10 minutes on. First thing, I want to, can we talk about Andre and his brother, please?
Yeah.
It's a really good case study. And 2, for like 10 minutes or ish, I'm going to talk about police abolition. So, do you want to start with Andre?
Okay.
You don't have to.
Yeah, I can start with Andre. Well, our landlord from before.
The 2 of us, girl I was dating at the time, who's a demon. I'm not gonna say her name or anything.
She isn't very nice to us.
Nor...
Doesn't matter. Let me talk about Andre. So the 3 of us,
and a tiny man lived with us too. Very small.
Doesn't matter.
Not his fault. Well, I'm painting a picture.
No, I'm painting a picture. You're letting me paint the picture, okay? Deal? The 3 of us were apartment hunting together. We were looking for a place for the 3 of us. And we found a house that had been divided into 2 units. And both units were up for grabs, unoccupied, available. One of them, the way the house had been divided into 2 units, it was a row house, like a standard Baltimore City row house, where the basement and first floor were 1 unit, and the second floor and third floor were the other unit. And the basement had such a low ceiling that Elliot would have hit his head going into the kitchen. I don't know. We toured both of them. I toured both of them. I was like, the answer is the top floor apartment, and if we can't get that, we're not getting it. We don't want the basement. Similar layout, but the ceiling problem was bad for anybody over 5'5". So we applied to it, and the landlord said that somebody else had also applied to it, that we were both approved, and we both wanted the top apartment. and we got our deposit in first. And so Andre, who is tall, and his family got the basement apartment and never got over it. And we had people over, and that was the first, like, we had people over the first...
Once. We had people
Once.
over
Once.
It was a
And-
housewarming party. It's the first
And
time we ever got our own apartment.
The whole time I was there, I was neurotically policing noise levels. That was not enough.
It's a party. It's impossible.
Because the thing about this row house is that the Ukrainian woman who had rehabbed it when she bought it did it kind of shitty, and you can hear everything, and the doors aren't fitted properly, so you do have to close them loudly. And we did everything in our power, like little cushion things on the doors. We had closing door method where you pull it gently to the jamb and then the rest of the way shut gently instead of doing it in one swing, which made a much louder noise. There's like getting rugs,
Okay, but I'm right here.
tiptoeing around, no shoes. There was nothing that would make him stop knocking on the door in the middle of the night. And he wasn't knocking on the door to be like, hey, could you keep it down? He would knock on the door and slam the doorbell for 15-minute periods. And if he saw Elliot outside, at one point he pulled into the alley in his car, jumped out of his car while Elliot was walking down the alley, and slammed him into the wall to start like spitting in his face. And this is like early coronavirus too. Just unmasked, like spitting in his face, yelling about like footsteps that he can hear, which is just like, yes, you live in an apartment, we've taken every step we could to make it softer, we can hear you screaming at your son all the time, we can hear your son blasting music all the time, but we are not insane freaks.
Corbett.
So he would just harass us constantly, but like every night I would wake up, I had to be up at like 2 in the fucking morning because I was working at the grocery store. I never got quarantined. I was always really mad about people who were getting $600 who weren't giving me like $100. Because I had to go to the grocery store and I wasn't even making $600 full time. And I had to go to the grocery store and everybody was going to the grocery store recreationally because they were bored at home. And it's just like, you know what, you people owe me. Like everybody who uses the grocery store should be giving me a portion of their free money. I should be able to, and I was fucking like, I was in poor health. I couldn't eat anything. I had no immune system, very weak, very dehydrated. Better now, but pretty bad at the time that coronavirus was really bad. So it was like, I might not make it. I have no nutrients.
Starting to tell this story a little bit like someone's great aunt that they want to avoid.
I have no nutrients. Anyways, so we were trying not to call the cops on Andre ever because he is a black man and we didn't want him to die. But we didn't have to worry about that because one day when he started breaking into our apartment by body slamming the door, he broke enough wood off of the door jamb that the door was broken and we had to tell Luda the door was broken and we needed it replaced, and it also wasn't our fault. So that was like a police report thing. But he also pepper sprayed into the new hole he had made in the door. So when the cops showed up and started talking to him...
so loud and so menacing. And pepper spray really hurts.
Yeah, that was not fun. 6 cops showed up and they started talking, they had talked to us. They started talking to him. I had a tape. I had recorded him body slamming the door and recorded him pepper spraying into the apartment. Well, we were on the other side. There's no way it was self-defense for him. And you can't just do chemical weapons. But you actually can. Because when the cops started talking to him, he revealed that his brother was a major in the BPD. And they changed their tune immediately and started saying, should we call his brother, like as a courtesy, should we call the major and like have him come down?
What's his fucking name? I'll bleep it in post.
Just Major Corbett.
No, it was his first name. It was something stupid.
I don't know his first name. I don't remember.
Melvin or something?
I don't know. I don't remember Andre's brother's name. I know he got sued for getting a woman killed in domestic violence because he wouldn't let, when he was responding to a domestic violence call, Major Corbett would not allow the victim of a fucking like wife beater to leave the vicinity of the guy who was beating her, and he killed her. Like, he wouldn't allow her to escape the situation when he was responding to a domestic violence call, and so she died after he helped her abuser hold her hostage. So he got sued for that. I don't know what came of the case.
I still think constantly, like a few times a month, about what to do legally. Because I've done a couple of things illegally to Andre.
Bleep that in post.
I don't give a fuck. Andre, you know it was me who put dog shit and broken glass in your mailbox. You deserved it. You're a kid beating. Fucking, I'm sorry you have so much chronic traumatic encephalopathy.
Anyway, so the cops came. As soon as the cops learned that Andre's brother was a major in their department, they wanted to call his brother. And there was one cop who was like, seemed to be more like uncomfortable with, oh, so his brother's a cop, so now the crime he was committing is not a problem anymore. There's like one lady cop who seemed like, this is weirder. She seemed less comfortable with what the rest of them were into.
Oh, I didn't get that vibe. I didn't pick that up.
There's one who was nicer to me. Cause I had taken that video and they were like, let me see the video. And I was holding a Gatorade bottle, like one of them curvy ones. And it said Gatorade on it, and you could see it in the video saying Gatorade on it. And the stupidest of the cops watching the video was like, what's that? Is that pepper spray? You pepper sprayed yourself? Just like super excited to not have to be investigating a major's brother anymore. And then it was like, no, are you blind? It's a Gatorade bottle. And other cops had to be like, yeah, that's obviously a Gatorade bottle, man. But it was just like, yeah, you guys are fucking stupid. You guys are stupid, and you're very transparently, like, giving up on the investigation of the guy just breaking into our apartment. Like, there's a huge chunk of fucking wood from our door that's just been ripped off on camera.
Yeah.
And they told me to go to the courthouse. It was 24/7, they said, and it was free to file like a protection order. I did this. They said it would be free. They said it was 24/7. I went down there. It was not free. It was not 24/7. They sent me all over town. They said there was a waiver I could file if I didn't have any money to pay for the filing, which I didn't. It was $80. Didn't have the money. I filed the waiver for not having the money. When I got to the judge, this was like 4 or 5 hours later. I hadn't slept at all because this was happening in the middle of the night. The judge said, I don't grant these. If you win, you can make him pay it. It was like, I can't file because I don't have any money. I can't win to make him pay it because we don't have any money to file, which is why there is this waiver process in the first place. That's why I just had to go home. And I hope he didn't kill us. And then we had to move into a hotel because he threatened to kill you and tried to destroy your phone. We had to move into a hotel, and we were all...
They knocked me over.
Yeah, we were already getting evicted anyways, which is why the landlady was like so pro Andre. Because he's, I don't know, he works for the fucking city or state. He's like a government employee. He should obviously be fired and be in misery. His son seems cool and nice. And his wife seems like she's not that big of a cunt. Other than standing by her man.
Son seems damaged.
The son seems like he
That's
deserves a
for
lot
sure.
better. And someone should go back in time and help him before he has his dad be his dad.
Yeah. I used to just get random texts from Andre. It was like not that long, a few months back. That I got a text from Andre who was like, "You ass stink, bitch. You gay fat GF." This is an adult man. Anyway, police abolition, pro, for, or against. What does it mean, abolish the police? What do you do next? It's 110. We'll go to 118 or something.
Well, like I was saying, I think the BPD is so bad that when people are like, abolition, they're like, well, we're replacing it. Like, the point is there's a restorative justice model that this is being phased out and something better is being phased in. But my thing is, we don't even, I want something better phased in, but I think we would benefit from just phasing out. That it's like, oh, we have to wait until we ever, no. I mean, politically, yes, I think probably if there were, the fucking WBAL Sinclair Broadcasting people were like, oh, there's no more police. Here's our reporting on crime now. That people, certain people would freak out strongly enough that it would backfire as, a political project.
I mean, wouldn't you? I mean, yeah, cops don't help people, but, the next time, that you get fucking, violently robbed and smacked across the face with a fucking gun, the fact that there's a guy there with a flashlight and a gun, it's better than if not. And if I gotta say, just logically, using basic middle school, elementary school reason, if I were the type of person who was inclined to shoot and kill and rape and violently rob, and they got rid of my biggest fear, the police, I would do it a whole fuck of a lot more and worse.
If we got rid of the police, I might like a gun.
Well, I'm not just saying me, I'm saying,
yeah,
because I don't like doing those things, they're wrong.
Oh.
But other people, and in Baltimore, I'm sorry for viewers who aren't from Baltimore, the thing about crime is kinda true. I've seen it for my social cast and melanin level and all that, and the fact that I live in the United States, I've seen more corpses in the street than anyone else, I think. I know. And all in Baltimore. So you have to. My problem with the idea, even if it's like, well, we're going to overhaul policing as it is and put in something more like a community task force of conflict mitigation or something. That should exist, by the way. But I think they tried it with safe streets or whatever, and they found out that the streets were so unsafe they couldn't do safe streets.
I got a good shot.
Yeah. My thing is that it's such a liberal fucking idea, because the whole thing is that the cops the cops aren't sovereign. The buck doesn't stop with the cops. The cops serve a function where if you do not get rid of the whole fucking leviathan the cops serve an essential role in, your fucking wokeified cops with maybe a little less gadgetry showing or something, that have like, you know, more training in skills, whatever. They're just gonna be cops the same, because that's the function that they're there for, is all this shit, in my view. And briefly, tell the viewers who you are.
I'm Erin.
Briefly. Be serious. Briefly. Interests, what do you do?
I'm a driver. I'm interested.
For your drive, you're an Uber driver? What do you...
Delivery driver.
For a farm.
Well, don't dox me.
It's a podcast.
Well, don't dox me.
I was gonna find. Just what are you into? I'm trying to be serious here. What are you interested in? What do you like?
I like plants. I like hanging out. I like having a good time.
I'll just say it. Erin is because the viewers, you know, they want to know I got luminaries on, so I can scale the ranks until I'm finally at Chomsky when he's about 130. And
replacing him or sitting with him on camera?
Sitting with him on camera. Erin's one of the smartest people I've ever met, one of the funniest people I've ever met. Smart in all kinds of areas, like natural, like social, political acumen, and like just imbibes it, and just is fucking just sharp. It
I
just
never had
comes
to read
out.
a book.
Well, I didn't have to read books. I wanted to.
Do you want to hear a riddle?
Did they? Okay, who's there? How do you start a riddle?
Oh. Angry and hungry are two words that end in GRY. What is the third word in the English language? Do you give up?
It is a riddle, so it is a trick question, right?
Do you give up?
I mean, is it a riddle or is there actually that word?
It's a riddle.
Don't know.
It's language. The English language. Language is
Wait,
the third
say the
word.
fucking riddle again?
Angry and hungry are two words that end in GRY. What is the third word in the English language? It's language.
Oh. That's unfunny and dispiriting. Thanks for watching, folks. I'm gonna try and do these, whatever they are. I guess starting with my friends. I guess I know a couple of people who are like known online or elsewhere, but not really famous people or whatever yet. I want to talk about politics and leftist politics. Get myself canceled. I feel like this might be the opening and closing salvo. Getting canceled for being skeptical of the wholesale abolition of the police. I am a prison abolitionist. Well, I am a prison abolitionist. Please, fuck me. Yeah, so I'm thinking about, and philosophy, philosophical issues, those are my areas, and art, like aesthetics, culture, stuff like that. What was I thinking about doing next? I don't know. I don't know. I had a list, but looking back on the list, maybe sex positivity and sex work and sex work discourse. Although maybe I really shouldn't be coming in so hot on the potential cancel bait. But also, if you are good faith, and the words I said were words to which you listened, then we should have no trouble. Unless you happen to be that fucking guy, Andre Corbett, who lived downstairs. Alright, that's the podcast. We're calling videos podcast now, right? You just need to have a microphone. I don't have a microphone. I do, but I didn't deal with an extension cord. Thanks.